us today for the 2021 Conservation Careers Fair. We're in the second session of the fair, and if you didn't catch the previous session, please feel free to just browse on the Facebook page. I'm sure you will find an earlier exciting session for this fair. In this session, we have someone that I think is very famous in the University of Zambia community. We are talking to Wildlife Veterinary Officer, Dr. Jackson Katampi from the Department of National Parks and Wildlife. Jackson, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks very much, Maina.
Okay, we're really excited to have this conversation, and if you would like to be part of it, of course you would like to be part of it, please drop us a message or a question for Jackson right in the comment section. So let's just get into it, and I'm going to ask you the most cliche of all questions.
Go ahead.
What did you see yourself becoming when you grow up, career-wise? What were you thinking?
Well, I think just like any other child born in Zambia, there are very limited careers that we tend to learn at a very tender age.
True.
So obviously, I was one of those guys that thought I want to be an engineer. No, I want to be a medical doctor and stuff like that. Certain careers are things that we haven't known in schools. So growing up, first option, I wanted to be an engineer.
Cool.
Second option, I wanted to be a lawyer.
Oh, wow. At any point, I really like that you said these are usually the only options available to children. And this is why we're here, so you know that there are more options available. I like that you mentioned you wanted to be an engineer or a lawyer. At any point, did you think maybe conservation, maybe a vet doctor?
Actually, I'll be very honest with you, Maina. Vet medicine is more or less like something that you will never even hear about when you're growing up.
Yeah.
And that's why, like you said, these programs become very important, that our brothers and sisters that are still in school can have a wider choice when they're making decisions. So vet medicine wasn't even part of my career choices.
Okay. I
only came to learn about vet when I went to the University of Zambia. Even though previously I had experiences that gave me the passion to save animals.
Oh, okay.
I just didn't know that there was a career that I can do that will link me directly to saving animals.
Wow, like, how do you decide I want to start saving or treating animals? It's a very interesting story to tell. And I would just like to say that I like that you said, well, initially I wanted to be this and that, but now I'm this. And it's a story that a lot of us have to share. A lot of people will say, oh, I started with this actually, but I ended up in this career field. And that's okay. So you mentioned UNZA. Tell us about your journey from UNZA to the Department of National Parks and Wildlife.
It's quite an exciting one.
I can imagine.
First, let me tell you about how my passion for animals developed.
Yes, please.
Which ended up making me to be a vet, or rather, a choice of being a vet to make it easy.
Okay.
So I grew up in Livingstone.
Okay.
And in Livingstone, we have the Musotunya National Park. And in one of the years, Zambia had experienced severe drought. And because there was this drought, sometimes we would drive through national parks and we would find warthogs and other animals dead in the roads.
No.
And it used to be very heartbreaking.
Yeah.
You walk to this animal, you can't do anything. You just find it there. And at that stage, I started thinking, is there anything that I can do that can help these animals? I used to belong to a club called the Tourism Club, St. Raffles.
Ooh, okay.
And so such opportunities were very important to go in the field. And I think, remember, there used to be a club called Chongololo.
Yes, we all loved that one.
Yeah, which exposed us to all this kind of wildlife animals. So I would see these animals, Maina. And you walk in, you see a rhino. The next street, you find a warthog dead. You go this other side, a buffalo is dead. I developed an attachment for those animals.
Okay.
But remember, because I didn't know that there was a career that I can do that can help me save the animals, I was just blank. And in my head, all I knew is that maybe I'll just become a ZOZO officer.
Yeah.
And I would think, maybe I should just become a ZOZO officer. But then, these people are here to protect the animals. How come they cannot save them?
Yeah.
Dying from this drought.
Yeah, that was a good question.
So I went to UNZA in my first year. I learned about all these vast career opportunities that are you know, and vet was one of them. And so I took time. I said, let me look at what does this do, you know? And as I read through and learned about it, all I knew is that a veterinarian can only work with cats and dogs, can only work with cattle, can only work with pigs. Wildlife was not even on the list. Okay, so I entered vet school. When I entered vet school, then I started learning, oh, okay, so besides cats and dogs, there's also horses. So a vet can also attend to chickens, or can also attend to other birds.
Okay.
Then one time, the one who was heading the vet department then, Dr. David Square, came with a carcass of a lion. Where Lester was a student.
That was a big moment for you.
And I was like, wow, this guy is a vet and is attending to lions.
Yeah.
Okay, this is interesting. So in my 5th year, I decided to intern with the then ZAWA.
Okay.
So I went to ZAWA. I did the whole time for internship. I was with ZAWA, and during that time, I got exposed to a lot of wildlife work. So it was very different from the usual veterinary work of being in the clinic. The challenges were good. The opportunities also were very good. And because of that, I said, okay, I think this is the path. So after university, it was easier for me to just sit down, get an application straight off, and apply it to ZAWA. And I was very confident. I will tell you, I was very confident that this job, I need to do it. So ZAWA, fortunately enough, that was also when the veterinary unit under the then ZAWA was also expanding. So they wanted to employ 2 more vets. And then they advertised the position for the vets. And we applied, and fortunately, we were picked. And I was one of the 2 that were picked to start working for ZAWA.
I know this is late, but congratulations, because I know this has taken you, it's taken you places. You do so many great things, and we're just like, to have you here today is really amazing. And I really like that you mentioned lecturers that played an important role in getting you to where you are with your career. I feel like that's something that is not emphasized enough. Like, they really do a lot. Even in the previous segment we had, Clara did mention that there was a lecturer that helped her or directed her, which is something that I think is really great. I'm always impressed and excited when I hear somebody giving credit to a lecturer that helped them, because I am a person that also benefited from something like that. Thank you so much, Jackson. And if you're just joining us, we are talking to Dr. Katampi, who is Wildlife Veterinary Officer from the Department of National Parks and Wildlife. My next question obviously is for anyone else that is listening out there. Maybe there are students that are listening to you because you have a whole gang at the School of Veterinary Medicine at UNZA. What is your advice to someone that is studying veterinary medicine right now?
Well, veterinary medicine is a career that has great potential, and opportunities are born every day. Okay? It's a career, first and foremost, that people have not understood. If you ask anyone about the vet, the first thing they'll tell you is that these people are Dr. Waimbwa, or a doctor for dogs or a doctor for cats. And sometimes it's amazing when we go into this field and then somebody tells you, oh, you're a vet and you're working in conservation. You know, it's like, I mean, I need to do this, you know. But it's a career that has so much potential, and it is a career that has contributed so much to this country in other ways. So, for example, one of the leading people that are researching on COVID is actually a vet. Okay, so it's a great career that has full potential. So students that are studying veterinary medicine, I know that sometimes you are limited to just think of, oh, maybe when I graduate, I'm going to be a DVO, or that's a district veterinary officer, or, or I'm going to work for this veterinary clinic and do such kind of things. But I can assure you, the opportunities that are growing with the increased number of game ranches in Zambia now, you know, there's so much demand. The demand for vets now is actually huge. And the market, I'll tell you, in national parks right now, we only have 6 veterinarians against 20 national parks and 36 game management areas. Now, minor, that is just protected areas.
I know.
Okay? And then you have this growing industry of private wildlife veterinarians and private people that are investing in wildlife. And as you know, that wildlife now is an industry that keeps growing. If you go to South Africa, you go to Zimbabwe, you find that there are a lot of vets that are practicing wildlife. You don't need to be employed by DNPW. Okay. You only need to be a competent vet that can practice wildlife. Wow. And now, as a department, we even have what we call guidelines for us to recognize you that you can actually practice wildlife. So even in the private sector, we have vets that have started developing. And I'm excited because even young vets now have joined the private sector. We have about 3 young vets that are very committed to doing wildlife, and they're doing it in the private sector. So there's vast opportunity. So for the students out there, they just need to know that veterinary medicine is actually a career to go with right now. Yes. And apart from cats and dogs, there is wildlife now that is growing at a speed of a dynamite, I would say. Everyone, we are attending to a lot of applications for game ranches. Wow. The increase in game ranches means that there will be demand for more vets. And as you know, there's now even legal game meat that is being sold. Yes. All that meat has to pass through a vet. So the opportunities are vast, you know?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. I feel like if I were studying veterinary medicine, I would be very encouraged. For starters, you've mentioned there is guidance. So obviously I would not be alone, and that there is, really, the sky is the limit at this point. There is so much going on, and this is great encouragement. I'm about to start. Maybe I should reconsider.
You're welcome, Mina.
Okay, and you've given us a lot of insight into your work with the Department of National Parks and Wildlife. I'm curious to understand or to hear, what is the hardest part about your job? What do you consider the hardest part about your job? And obviously this ties into another question. Yeah. I think someone has commented on our Facebook page asking what is the most challenging moment in your job, so we can answer those together.
Okay, so let me start by telling you that the veterinarian in wildlife deals with animals at a micro level. Okay. Which means that I deal with individual animals. Whereas all these other careers, they're going to look at it at a head level. You know, for example, our officers will protect the head, our ecologists will look at the environment and they would want to protect the environment. But the only person that is going to give you access to an animal is a veterinarian. Yes. Which means that when I go in the field, I would be able to tell you, Mina, I'm working on this animal. Can you pat it or touch it, you know? Okay. That opportunity, you only find it when you're working with a veterinarian. Mm-hmm. Okay, so one of the biggest challenges that I have faced is first and foremost because my background as a vet, during our time, wildlife veterinary medicine was not a huge component in the curriculum, okay? And obviously, it's because the school responds to demand, market demand. And at that point, there was less demand for wildlife veterinarians. So as a result, the component for wildlife veterinary medicine was very small. So most of the things that we've learned in wildlife is actually through experience. Okay, it's not something that we've gone into class and been taught and stuff like that. It's most of it is through experience, job on training. That's the correct one. And also, because it's a very small community across Africa, we have all these other veterinarians that have been practicing wildlife for a long time. So we have this network that we can easily, teach each other and ask questions and stuff like that. So one biggest challenge is that there's less information on veterinary medicine when it comes to wildlife practice. Okay. That is one of the big challenges. Right. Two, having grown up in Livingstone, I'm now being forced to work in remote areas, in the bush, Mina.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, now it's a good thing. Yeah. But then, it was like, what? I have to go to Kafue National Park? I have to go to Mulobezi GMA? There's a snared animal there? You go there, there's not even mineral water. You have to go fetch water from some dam or somewhere and you have to drink. But those challenges come with opportunities.
Oh, wow, I like that.
Okay? Come with opportunities. So yeah, that's one of the biggest challenges that we have.
Okay, thank you so much for bringing that up. Going to a national park where there's no water. Funny enough, I am excited about such things. I don't know if I would survive that long, but I find that very exciting. I feel like that's something really, really good. Like you said, it comes with its own opportunities. Yes. Speaking of opportunities, the opposite of the question that I asked, what do you find most exciting? What do you look forward to every day when you wake up saying, I am going to work today?
Adventure.
Ooh, yes. I like that.
I'll tell you, if there's a career that is going to make you to be very adventurous, if you like adventure like I do, you discover that being a wildlife veterinarian actually takes you places. Okay? I have stepped my foot, I've left a footprint in almost every national park in this country.
Wow.
Okay? And that is very exciting for me because I would get to go to these national parks, sleep in these very good tents. You know, it's not always that we're going to go to Lower Zambezi and find this very nice lodge. Sometimes you have to camp on top of a car because you need to get the work going. So one of the exciting moments is actually adventure. It's very adventurous. Number two is that because of the challenges that there's no much information, there's always an exciting moment when you work on an animal and then, you know, you see it getting better. And remember, most of the works that we do, or even all the works that we do, we immobilize these animals. So when you have immobilized an animal, it will be stationary and people might think, oh, maybe it's dead and stuff like that. Just seeing it waking up. Just getting its feet and walking, you know. So yeah, it really gives us that confidence and it's really exciting for me.
Okay, that's amazing. Now, just to take you back into the national park, because I've seen some pictures. I've had the privilege of seeing some of the work that you do through the Department of National Parks and Wildlife. There are pictures sometimes we've seen animals snared, and there's a question coming from our audience, and someone is asking, what is the plan from the department on tackling the snaring, the massive snaring they're calling it in national parks? Do you have a comment on that?
Yeah. So I also wanted to mention that, you know, conservation is all about letting nature take its place. Okay? And that is why in the past, people used to think like veterinarians do not play a bigger role in conservation. Okay? But now, because of the human influence on what we, the people, are doing to the wildlife, it has brought so much demand for veterinary work.
Yes.
Okay? So we only intervene if it's human induced.
Okay. Oh.
So I'll give you an example. If I walk into the national park and I find a crocodile attacking an impala, okay, or a lion attacking a bushback, you know, normally my human part will say, let me save that animal. Oh, poor animal, you know, maybe let me get there and try and, you know, it's going to be killed and stuff like that. But that's part of nature. So as vets, we don't intervene. Okay. So even if there's a wound as a result of a lion attack, we will not intervene.
Oh.
Because that's part of nature. Okay, lions also need to feed, Mina.
This is new information and this is very interesting.
So, however, when we find an animal has been shot, because that's human induced,
yes,
that's not nature, then we have to treat the animal.
Ah, okay.
Okay. So if we find an animal is snared, that snare is not natural. Okay? We have to remove it and treat it. So the Department of National Parks has a robust program in almost every national park to do what we call snare sweeps. Oh. So they go into these places and look for snares and remove them. Okay? If during that snare sweep they find an animal which is snared, then they will call for a vet to come in. All right? So we come in to remove the snare from the animal. Okay. But the most important thing is that people must be responsible.
Yes.
Because if we are snaring these animals, sometimes we don't get to see them in good time and they will die. Okay, and imagine you're driving into this national park and you find this animal with a wire around it, and Jackson is in Chilanga, and let's say you are in Nsumbu. So you can imagine the cost to move me from Chilanga to Nsumbu.
Yeah.
And you can imagine the time because you don't have control over that animal. So all in all, I think what we need to know, firstly, is that snaring is bad, and we need, by all means, to discourage people from doing that. Okay. And as a department, like I said, we have this robust program where we do snare sweep. If you see an animal, you're in the national park, you see a snared animal, please just tell the nearest wildlife officer that you are with, and then they'll get the information to us and will act.
Thank you so much again. There's so much information that you've given us, and we're coming. We're actually at the end of this session. I wish we could go on. We could have this conversation the whole day. Just one last question, only because I feel like whomever asked this probably heard you or picked up on you talking about how you went to the department for an internship. Could you shed more light on that? How does someone attach themselves with the department? How do they go about it? Do you have any advice when someone is applying for this as someone that successfully went to the department on internship?
Okay, so of course the department is vast, it's big, it's got different career opportunities that anyone can have a chance. Actually, any career that you are doing, whatever you are studying, you have an opportunity to work in conservation.
Ooh, I think you should say that again.
It doesn't matter what you're doing. There's always an opportunity for you to work in conservation.
That's good.
And we need everybody. We need lawyers.
Yes.
We need business people. We need accountants. We need everyone, in short, for us to achieve the dream of having conservation success. Okay, so like I said, the easiest thing is just apply, obviously through the director's office.
Okay.
And if you are interested in a particular unit or a particular department, for example, if you're interested to intern with us as vets, so in your application, you indicate that you want to be interned with the department under the veterinary unit.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I think that is very, very clear. As we close this session, do you have any advice? What last remarks do you have for our audience today?
Yeah, I always say that we need to do our part. The earth needs us.
Yes, it does.
The environment needs us. Mm-hmm. And the wildlife needs us. The wildlife will communicate amongst themselves, but they will not communicate with us. It's us to get to speak on behalf of the wildlife. It's you and me to speak on behalf of the environment.
Indeed.
Remember, when the environment turns around, the first who are going to be affected is you and me.
Yes.
Okay, because the wildlife, the plants will adapt easily. For example, now we are crying about climate change. Why? It's because people like you and me did not take responsibility to take care of our environment. Mm-hmm. So my humble appeal to everyone is that let's conserve the little that we have. We still have an opportunity to take care of our animals. We still have an opportunity to take care of our environment. The best we can do is let's not destroy it. And for those that are aspiring or those that want to join the fight, remember, this is a fight because we have a few bad people out there that don't see value in conservation. Please, let's sensitize them. And for everybody else, let's join hands together to save this Mother Earth.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jackson. We have been talking to Dr. Jackson Katampi from the Department of National Parks and Wildlife. And this is not the last session. We'll be coming back with another session. So please stay tuned. Thank you for joining us.